Hey guys, Tom from Geek Duo here, and today I'll be bringing you my reaction to Percy Jackson Season 2, Episode 2, titled Demon Pigeon Attacks. Percy and Annabeth contend with new activities director as they try to locate Grover. And I don't actually know entirely what this episode's going to entail. Obviously, it's going to have the chapter Demon Pigeons Attack, and I'm assuming it's also going to have chapter 7. But most of what I thought was going to be in this episode, well, not most of it, I think the actual main set piece is going to take up most of the time. But I thought chapter 5 and chapter 7 were going to bookend chapter 6. That's not what's happening. So either they're spending a lot more time on chapter 6 than I thought they would, or they've expanded on chapter 7. Because, I mean, chapter 6 is 19 pages. Chapter 7's 22. So, that's actually less pages than we have minutes in this episode, including intro and outro. So, that's actually pretty rare for this show. But let's get the episode loaded up and get it started in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, that didn't play for some reason. I wonder if they're going to do the campfire story. Because we didn't have campfire in the first one. Was there even campfire in the first book? Hmm. Yes, before Capture the Flag. Do you have to ask, why does Grover know the exact nautical, well, not even nautical, the exact coordinates of where he is? Then again, to be fair, the Sea of Monsters is on the map, so if he knows he's in the Sea of Monsters, then. Huh. Interesting. Because the birds were already in camp. Hmm. Who is that, satyr? It didn't say a name. So, in the book, the food and drink would actually magically run away from him. It's not that he could hold it and then couldn't consume it, it's that he literally could not reach it. Which is like in his thing in the Field of Punishment, where ankle deep in a lake, but if he reaches down for it, then the water runs away, and an apple tree above his head, but if he reaches up for it, the branches move. That's what the food outside was like as well. That my offering. Well, I contacted you, so I was correct about the spikes being Aries. Hmm. Okay, they're setting that up a little earlier. Is that a threat? They have a little cat handbook. Why is the book so small, though? Interesting. So, interesting. So she knew the Great Prophecy at the start of the story. Surprising that Chiron's saying Percy can't go on this quest. To be fair, knowing what I know, I can think of a couple of reasons why. Does she go off on the quest? She's hmm. That is the complete opposite of what was in the book. Because the reason these two didn't race together in the book is because of Annabeth's issues with Tyson. They had a major falling out, and so she went with the Athena kid. He made a chariot with Tyson. So for her to say have a different reason, interesting thing that I learned is they actually filmed the actor for Tyson, um, and merged both of his eyes into the one to create the effect for it. So all the blinks, all the little minor movements in that are his actual eyes, just merged together. Interesting that he had the tinkering tendencies before um getting to camp, because that sort of implies that Cyclopses have that innate in them, not him being given the idea from working with the Hephaestus kids. Actually, it's within the rules. If you're participating in the event, it's well within the rules. Interesting. I was expecting Malcolm to be her second. Caduceus, the gears. Nice. Interesting that Mr. D was the one who added the no killing. Is it only the five of them? Why aren't all 12? Frontier, eh? That's not a character that existed. Did Tyson he did Tyson hear that? Some of the armor that they've got are very interesting designs. Surprised that the Ares kids have it as a like a trident. Or I mean, if tricks are allowed, why doesn't Percy just tell the other horses to not win? Why would you create a chariot that can explode? Hang on. They said his name was Chris in the subtitles, but Chris was in season one. Okay. Hmm. Charles and I'm going to assume Jake. Then again, all the second ones have different names than I expect. Um. Oh, they've got an in. Hmm. Not doing as much damage as you'd expect from razor sharp beaks. I know they can't actually, but I would have expected more dive bombing or. Of course, Mr. D isn't worried about it. Huh. Okay. Mariah Carey, eh? Not Dean Martin. Okay, they can freely leave, but hmm, interesting change to Clarice's character there, because she didn't notice the attack until she'd won in the book. Here, she intentionally ignored it. Two of them. That's a question. Are Castor and Pollux in this? Because if there were any campus he cared about, it was his kids. Though he did have to keep it distant, like the it just did. Okay. Hmm. No one actually said the fleece to him, so that one there was told. But did they explain everything? Clarice for winning the chariot race. Hey, they said her full name. I should have waited till it was actually said. Okay, we'll just send you off on your own, and we'll go do our own thing. We'll get permission from an actual god. Interesting. Several things to note there. One, she was going to accept Percy. That is surprising. Two, Chris Rodriguez. That's who I thought Luke's friend in the first season, who was also named Chris, also a child of Hermes. Hmm. Also, Tantalus didn't want the Border Patrol. Huh. Making some very interesting changes. There's also the fact that Clarice went alone. You did hear it. Hmm. I do like how much they're using that Cyclops skill. I wonder how they're going to do certain parts of this season, since Clarice isn't heading off alone. Oh, you're in a wedding dress. Oh, they are still doing it. He figured it out immediately. Oh, you're in that kind of relationship, are you? I am glad they kept that in. The, having the dress be in cargo instead of him being picked up from a wedding boutique. Yeah, okay. Why was there a wedding dress in cargo? I guess, but who are you? I thought that was going to be the end of it. I'm like, it has not been long enough. So far, this episode has been very, very enjoyable. I still reckon they should have possibly not had so much in the first episode, but to allow this one to breathe as much as it has, it's a fair trade off. Still reckon they should have one extra episode, because that would be the perfect length for these books, but no, you're not. Hey, cousin. You invented the liar because of a thief you committed. Much of what Hermes is saying does have multiple interpretations, which is very good for a character that he's meant to be. Why not get in the hippocampus? Fair. Did she have the ring in her first in the first season? Remember you're in a time limit, Percy. You're getting clunked on the head by a cyclops. You're lurking around the boundary of camp. Who gave him a crossbow? Dyson. Okay. I thought he was going to pull that out, but. Okay. So they did changed some things, but ended up in the same place. I mean, you were sent on a, you were approved of a quest by a god, so you are acting on the will of the gods. So I think that overrides any guidelines. I don't know who that is, so I'll look that up. Okay, so most of the differences that I noticed was I already spoke about in the episode. Um, there are a couple big character differences because, like I said, the argument between Percy and Annabeth was over Tyson. Annabeth was treating him like shit. Percy was defending him. They got into a heated argument, decided they're not going to do chariot race together. She went to her siblings, he went to Tyson, and yeah. So they changed it, but they got to the same location. In regards to the actual chariot race, it was all 12 cabins in the book. Here it was only 5. I wonder why they chose those 5. Like, Ares, Athena, and Poseidon. That makes sense. They have to. But why they chose Hephaestus and Hermes over, like, Demeter, Apollo, Dionysus, why am I blanking? Aphrodite. That's only 11. Missing one. 5 and 3 is 8. 3 honorary cabins. Who am I missing? I think it's a female one. No? 12 Olympians. 7 male, 5 female. 3 honorees of Zeus, Hera, and Artemis. They have no children. 5 were in the race. I said 3 others. Who am I missing? Also, Danny Virtue was apparently the stunt coordinator. Athena, Poseidon, Ares, Hephaestus, Hermes. I said Apollo, Aphrodite, and Demeter. Zeus, Hera, Artemis. I said Dionysus as well. So I said 4, not I was, but I was only counting 3. Okay, yeah. So I had the 12. Um, but yeah, I don't know why. I can understand why they didn't have the Dionysus cabin, because he only has the 2 kids. Don't even know if they're actually in this or not. They don't really get featured until book 4. I think because they're twins. So one of them is the head counselor, and they're in all the like war council meetings, but I don't remember which one. Um, Yeah, I don't know why. They changed it from the birds already being in the camp, just sitting on the trees in the forest, watching everyone, to just continuously trying to get through the barrier and breaching it. But they've also moved the timeline forward, because Chiron being already gone, yet the barrier not being poisoned yet, doesn't really make sense, because Chiron was fired in response to the tree being poisoned, because him being the son of Kronos, they think either he's working with them or he was negligent or something, and so he got removed in response to the poisoning. Yet him being gone is what allowed the lapse in um what's it called, lapse of supervision for Luke and that to get through. So they've sort of switched that up. Him already being in Miami with the party ponies. To be fair, he was also there the first time they spoke to him in the book after he'd left camp. Um, I forget when exactly that happened. Um, but yeah, running to his office, getting the boombox or tape player, whatever you want to call it, holding it up to scare off the birds with the music straight from the book, except getting the idea from Tantalus screaming was funny. In the book, Annabeth just remembered it. And also using Mariah Carey, which, yeah, she's got a very high voice, would scare off anything sensitive to noise, compared to Dean Martin, who, I'll be honest, I can't off the top of my head think of any songs for. So that's interesting. I still don't know who that satyr is. Um, but yeah, Clarice winning the chariot race despite the attack, as I said, the same as from the book, except she didn't notice the attack was ongoing. Um, and when she won, she turned back to the crowd expecting cheers, saw what was going on, and immediately jumped into action. Here, she saw what was going on, decided to win, and then continued on. Also, the whole scene with her and Chris Rodriguez is. So I can't talk about that because that is a spoiler. However, those two being paired up does have grounds in the text. But, like a lot of things, they're just sowing the seeds earlier on for like with in season 1, how we got some of Luke's backstory in the Lotus Hotel. They're taking things that happened later on, planting the seeds for it to grow throughout the whole season, which is good. So that's interesting. And Clarice trying to flirt with him and then not being picked up by Chris, and just all the other campers laughing, even Percy picking up on it. Um, because he doesn't realize that until much later on. Um, having Clarice accept Annabeth as on the quest, and Percy's right, she was going to pick him, but then Annabeth got in her ear, and she decided to pick Chris Rodriguez instead. Now, what's interesting in that is, in the book, Clarice won the chariot race. They then had campfire that night for celebration, where she was selected to go speak to the Oracle. And then when she would return, she would then select who goes on the quest with her. Like what happened in season 1 with Percy, how he was sent to the Oracle and then chose his companions in response to what he heard. Clarice did that. And this is also when Tantalus gives a slightly modified story of what happened with him and his kids in the terms of a scary story to scare the campers into listening to him before going to bed. That is because Tantalus' story is he was well loved by the gods, and they would even invite him up to Olympus for feasts and that. And one day they offered him a gift, and he asked for ambrosia to take back to the humans. The gods said no, and because of the, I think it was because of the severity of the request, decided to cut ties with him. That or he said something in response, and that created ill blood. I don't remember the specifics. Then Tantalus decides to, as a form of apology, invite the gods to his castle and for a feast of his own to apologize. And then it turns out that what he'd actually done is killed his sons, baked them into the soup, and then tried to feed that to the Olympians to sort of besmirch them, A, for eating humans, proving they're as bad as their parents, and also for them to not know that he had the humans in there would be a blow against their power in that they didn't know. So obviously they can be manipulated. Some versions of the myth, none of them eat it. Some versions, Demeter ate some versions, all of them ate it. It depends on what you read, but they punished him with the whole cannot eat, cannot drink for the rest of eternity in the fields of punishment. So, and he basically twisted the story into a moral against disobeying your elders as to why the kids were killed and then served in the stew. He put the blame on his own kids rather than on his actions. But yeah. Anyway, back to the actual thing. Chris Rodriguez being accepted for the quest is going to be interesting because, like I said, they're setting seeds for things that happen later on. So he didn't really have much to do in the second book. So going to be interesting to see that character fleshed out. Also, I really thought that the Chris in season 1 was Chris Rodriguez. I think it was even credited as Chris Rodriguez. Percy going off on his own for the quest. Yeah, that's to be expected. Grover setting the seeds of Annabeth having issues with Cyclopses in the dream is a nice touch. The scene with Percy and Hermes is a little more aggressive on Percy's behalf, but understandably so. Chapter 7, I accept gifts from a stranger. Page 85. This is the learning where the fleece is in the Sea of Monsters, the campfire, the strong arming Tantalus with the idea of I know how to save the camp. Percy gives the correct coordinates and then says that the latitude and longitude in front of everyone at the campfire. So they start saying, we need a quest to save the camp. Tantalus chooses Clarice. Um, ah, the king was allowed to feast on Mount Olympus, but when he tried to take some ambrosia and nectar back to Earth to figure out the recipe, the gods punished him. They banned him from their halls forever. His own people mocked him. His children scolded him. Um, he invited the Olympians to a feast at his palace, just to show them no hard feelings. No one noticed his children were missing, and he served the gods dinner. Um, which was his sons in his children in the stew, punished him in the afterlife, and yeah, children never spoke back. They never questioned his authority again. So yeah, sends her up to the oracle. Percy leaves Tyson in his cabin. Um, goes down to beach just to clear his head. Doesn't act. It's not actually intending to sneak out. Um, just chilling on the beach with a coke, and suddenly Hermes shows up, gives him the We didn't get George and Martha. That's another thing that was actually in the movie that wasn't in um this. Like the Caucasus Bulls, they had the caduceus with George and Martha around it. Um, Hermes actually gives Percy the idea to go on the quest on his own. Um, both of them have reference to the whole lyre creation. It's just different ends of the story, where Hermes is like, I created the lyre, it was stolen. Whereas here, he says, this baby, left his cave and stole some of Apollo's gold, crimson cattle, and to appease the god in return, crafted a lyre out of some like tendons and a tortoise shell, and created the musical instrument. Um, Tells him to go on the quest. I'm just looking to see if he says anything about saving Luke. Um, yes, he does. I want you to go on because perhaps I hope you can save many people in this quest, not just your friend Grover. He was very more upfront about it in this than the double meanings and everything. Um, my dear young cousin, if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that you can't give up on family no matter how tempting they make it. Doesn't matter if they hate you or embarrass you or simply don't appreciate your genius for inventing the internet. Um, yeah, so they pretty much had the same thing. It's just Percy being a little more confrontational because Hermes was skirting around the point. And then it ends with Annabeth and Grove and Tyson finding him on the beach, and they're actually running from the cleaning harpies, not Tantalus. But yeah, so most of this, some changes ending in the same spot, some changes ending in the same spot. So the only lasting difference in this is the fact that Chris Rodriguez is going on the quest with Clarice. Also, we got a few new characters who aren't in the books. Most of the seconds in the chariots. Anyway, this was a very entertaining episode. A lot more held together than the first one, but again, that's because they were trying to put so much in the first one that it felt a little disjointed. But unlike with season 1, I don't know whether there would have been enough in these 2 episodes to be 3. Because season 1, episode 1 and 2 was very much. They should have been 3 episodes. Should have ended the second episode with the start of Capture the Flag, shown more of the stuff at camp, and then because there was a lot more at camp in the first book. Here, we've shown pretty much everything that was at camp in these episodes, so I can understand. Maybe no, because then this episode wouldn't have felt as put together. Don't know. Maybe they did make the right decision just for episode 2's sake, but yeah, I don't know. I'm going to end this one here. I'm rambling, so I'll catch you in the next one.